1. Hi there. To clarify the context, I'm an international student in Malaysia, and my housemates are locals, and it's their 4th month of living in the apartment. I just moved to a new room with my own bathroom last week. I spent here only 2 or 3 days, and the rest of the week at my boyfriend's place. So last week, when I just moved in, I used the kitchen once, and I noticed that the trash can was full. Trash was literally sticking out from edges of the can, and little flies were flying around it. And since Malaysia is a hot country, it's very easy for the house to get infected by insects, so you need to keep a place clean in order to avoid it. After I finished cooking, I cleaned after myself, threw the bag of trash out, and cleaned the can because some liquid was rotting at the bottom of it. Then I went to my boyfriend's house for 5 days and came back this week on Wednesday evening. I noticed that flies have already occupied the kitchen. The trash can was stinky again. I wasn't using the kitchen and ordering takeouts and eating in my room, then taking my mess out straight away. I messaged our group chat yesterday, "Hey girls, can somebody throw the trash bag? There's a lot of little flies multiplying now there. I threw it last week." So one of the girls finally threw it out, and everything was fine. But then she messaged this. "Also, whoever usually sees that the trash needs to be thrown, we usually just take it out because we don't have any turns. So for anyone next time, if you see it full, just throw it out because we all use it." I said that I wasn't using the kitchen and the trash can, that's why I messaged the group app. For context, another thing is that the air conditioner in my room is not working. I messaged the owner about the issue and he ignored me. For some reason, he only responded to the girl who was in charge of the bills. So I messaged the group chat about this, and they said a repair guy will come to fix it, but only on weekends. I usually stay at my boyfriend's house on weekends and ask them to open the door while I'm gone, so the repair guy can come in and fix everything. They wanted to fix something as well, so it's not only for my sake. The girl who's in charge of communication with the owner responded to my message, "When are you free for the repairman to come to fix your air conditioner?" I said next Wednesday. She said they only come on weekends, and I asked if somebody who is home could open the door to the guy while I'm gone. Her response, "But it's your air conditioning? We don't use your air conditioning, so why should we be home to watch them do it?" I responded, "Because it's not only my air conditioning." "Why are you being sassy about this? I just wanted to bring up the trash situation because in my previous house, I was often the only one taking it out. I don't want it to become solely my responsibility again, especially since I'm only staying in my room for 2 days and I'm already handling my own trash. It would be great if we could all pitch in to keep things clean and free from flies." Her response was, "Well, I understand your concern. However, we all throw the trash, and it's not just you, okay? When we see trash is full, we throw it away. Also, we helped you oversee the repairman fix for your sink. Because we're housemates, and it's the right thing to do. We help each other. If we keep thinking I've done this, I've done that, we can't live peacefully. I'm just bringing this up because I noticed the flies, since I'm not home most of the time. I haven't cooked or added anything to the trash. I usually take it out, like I did last week. But I wanted to mention it here so that you know I usually do it, and I don't expect for you guys to do it all the time. There's no reason to see it in a negative way. Honestly, I just can't understand why they can't comprehend that a new tenant who came yesterday to the house is not responsible to take out the trash after others that live and cook in the house 24/7 make all the mess. Like, you can literally see that a person stayed in his room one night, and it's valid that he's asking others to take out the trash. I'm starting to feel that they're going to have an attitude towards me for the rest of the time I'm here. 2. So, I'm a 24-year-old female college student, and I'm black. That last part might not seem relevant, but it will be important later. Back in 2021, or 22, I moved in with my roommate who was 40, but was 38 at the time. One day, I went to the store with my best friend to go and get a tape measure. For context, the house I was living in was a rental of my mom's, and it was rotting from the inside out. The ceiling was flooded and rotting, the blinds were a tangled mess, and the stench of mold and roaches permeated the oppressive air within the house. I originally moved in with my grandmother shortly after high school, but had to leave due to her increasingly declining temperament. I won't pretend that I was a perfect angel, but the way I was being treated took a toll on my mental health. My mother moved up to Georgia at the time to basically be away from my siblings and I. Probably. It's a complicated story. With my mom gone, and my eldest sister and her children elsewhere, it left the entire house to my sister, who I will call Logan. Logan has always been antagonistic towards me since I was young. She would try to beat me up and would say how much she wished I wasn't her sister. Any time I wanted to spend time with her, she would become short-tempered and venomously physical. On many occasions, she would get into altercations at school and be sent home for aggressive behavior. During high school, she punched a hole in the door of my bedroom because I didn't want to tell her where I went. Just nasty work. During the year she had been there, the house managed to fall into disrepair and she did not inform anyone. The home was damaged down to the infrastructure. I had no car or license at the time and basically relied on my meager McDonald's job to get by. It was a miserable time in my life, and I firmly believed I would have killed myself if things had continued the way they did. Despite this, I wanted to try and mitigate the damage. So I went to Lowe's to get a tape measure to measure the blinds and determine what size I needed to order. This is where I met my roommate. All I asked for was a recommendation on what tape measure to buy. What I got was 30 minutes of him telling me about his neck injury from a car accident and how his wife divorced him. He put a lot of emphasis on her taking the dogs. It was pretty rough. Despite the strangeness of his behavior, he seemed like a genuinely kind person. I felt terribly for him. He gave me his number and we became fast friends. When he learned of my situation, he was the only person to help me. During our first time hanging out, he bought me Korean food without me even asking and drove me home. He accepted me after coming out as me being gay, and even drove me to work when he found out how much I was spending on Ubers. On my 21st birthday, he allowed me to come over and bought me a cake to celebrate. I stayed the night and drank for the first time while watching Vinland Saga. Even now, this brings a tear to my eye. Not even my own sister went that far for me. This did not last. Over the course of that year until now, he just deteriorated. When I first met him, I had no idea he was an alcoholic, and I also did not know that he was never even married to his ex. He portrayed her as an evil, manipulative witch, and that she just up and left him, but come to find out he drank excessively, would never clean up, and almost cost her career as a doctor. Neighbors who he introduced me to that he swore were super close with him couldn't stand him, and would not skip an opportunity to air their grievances with him with me. They even said they were surprised that he could even have a roommate. They would only use him for what he had. The job he had was toxic, so he left, but that was 2 years ago. He finally enrolled back in school, except he dropped out and now spends his nights getting wasted on 12 ounces of vodka plus cases of beer. He never used to do this, but now it's his favorite pastime. He's even started talking to himself and practicing political arguments in his head. He's even been screaming at his mom and getting mad when she doesn't agree with his politics. It seems that this is something she is accustomed to. I used to really enjoy his company and banter, but now I feel nothing but disgust and pity. I hate it. When I tell my mom about it, she just tells me to be there for him when I can, but who's going to be there for me? I feel so alone. I'm making strides in my college courses and career, but I'm afraid that I will lose it all if I leave. I have nowhere else to go, and I'm scared to try and find another roommate. Despite this, I know I need to leave. He has never been violent to me, but he has become meaner and pettier. He apologizes, but is not coming across as sincere anymore. Though he hasn't hurt me, he has hit things in anger before. Oh, and in case you're wondering about why I mentioned that I'm black, here's why. He's become a lot more racially insensitive. He's obsessed with being anti-woke, and has used the N-word 2 times. I have repeatedly told him to stop. He's even graduated to using slurs for Asian people. I'm just at a loss. I feel alone and don't know what to do. Advice and prayers welcome. Elfreezer's note. Well, you obviously know what you need to do here. You need to get your butt out of there, no matter what you need to do. He has been a good friend to you in the past, and while I think it is a good idea that when a friend is going through a tough time, you support them, when it's prolonged to the point that they're actually hurting you, that's when it becomes kind of dangerous, quite frankly. You're putting your own mental health in danger, and although he's not attacked you yet, and hopefully he never would, best not to risk it. So whatever you need to do to get out of there, you do it, as soon as possible. 3. I'm going to keep this as brief as possible, and I want you to tell me if you could put up with this. New Year's Eve last year. My nan popped her clogs, and that night my niece decided to bring her friend for drinks so I wasn't alone. Halfway into the night we're talking about how to pay the bills because I was on a low contract, and quickly decided the friend could move in, maybe. She told her mom, and her mom had her packed up within 24 hours. I guess you're moving on. She turned the dining room into a bedroom, claiming the French doors for herself. Fine. It's not the first time it's been a bedroom. 2 weeks later, "Can we have a puppy? It won't be right now." 2 hours later, we have a puppy, which she now hates and has relinquished to me. Everything she hates about my house is caused by the dog she decided to buy, so looks at it with disdain. She goes out often, and comes in between 1 and 4 a.m. She'll order Just Eat orders in the wee hours of the morning that I wake up to and have to get in because she's drunk and has fallen asleep. She has random friends come over frequently without giving me the heads up, to the point I feel like I could get murdered in bed. She's just told me she's knocking 50 quid off her own rent because she wants to get a better diet and wants to afford it. She's on double at £2,000 a month, and she spends most of her shifts reading her Kindle. Most mornings for around 2 months or so, I was having to wake up at 6 a.m. to wake her up for work because she's immune to her alarm. Her ex-boyfriend, who I do like, became homeless, and she offered my house to him as a solution. Fine. He can stay until he finds somewhere. He asked if he can stay longer. I'm not related to any of these people, and I feel like I'm being taken for a mug. Quite often, she seems to be setting ground rules for me. Tidies nothing outside her room, refuses to recycle properly, and my niece couldn't stand her mood swings, so did a runner 1 month after paying me exactly 2 months' rent. I have a 3-bedroom house, with the dining room as an extra bedroom. After inheriting it, I have access to 2 bedrooms and the lounge. There's a slim chance at 37 that I may have my own child, and actually want a room to put it in. I want to tell her to go rent her own place at $900 or $1,200 a month, so she can do what she likes. She'll have to pay a landlord at an actual profit, and currently, she's planning to use me so she can buy a house, and I'm supposed to be absolutely hunky-dory about that. Bonus moment. I got a boyfriend who moved in with me recently, but prior to the move-in, she came and sat with us. He's 13 years younger than me, which is his preference. I just begged all the gods he was older than 20. She decided to sit down, talk about herself for 5 minutes, then proceeded to bully every single aspect of him that she could find, including reminding me that he's closer to her age than mine, his tattoo, his weight, his hairline, his looks. Gotta make sure he knows he's ugly. He's not. I was seething. I basically told her to shut up and go away. How would you deal with this? If she leaves, I'll financially be okay, and I could do a room up for Airbnb at £30 a day if I really want to. I feel like she brings all the drama to my life, and I was really looking forward to a nice, calm future. Hellfreezer's note, good news, bad news, you already have a child. But she's over 18, so it's time to kick her out the house. You should probably open the door before you do it, I guess. Or the window. Yeah, fact of the matter is, that's your home. You should not feel uncomfortable in your own home. If you're fine with occasional guests from Airbnb as a way to get a bit of extra cash, then definitely do that. But she's a nightmare brat. No, do not put up with her. Kick her out now. I'm not sure if there's any particular law you need to abide by, but yeah, I would kick her out as soon as possible. Quite obvious now why her mum had her bags packed within 24 hours, so she didn't have to deal with her anymore. But she can go shack up with her boyfriend, poor guy, or go back to mummy's. It's not your problem. And you should have a very Merry Christmas and a lovely, silent New Year. 4. I'm a 22-year-old woman, have 2 other roommates, both 19, female, living off campus. I'm in my 5th year of college, and they're both sophomores, and they have only lived in the dorms the previous year. I have a single and they share a double. I have a car and the other roommate has a 4-seater car. I have been living with them for 6 months at this point, and I have had so many issues that I have zero clue how to fix the situation. To start, I had gone home when they both moved into the apartment for a few weeks, and when I came back, my one roommate had her boyfriend over who stayed the night. Wasn't a huge deal because I figured he was only going to be there for a day and leave. Boy, was I wrong. The boyfriend had been there for about 5 days at that point, cooking, showering, sleeping over. Other things. When I first realized he was staying quite a bit of time, I pulled the roommate aside and asked her to please switch off so that he will be here for a few days, and then she will go to his place for a few days. He lives on campus in the dorms. When I discussed this with her, it sounded like she understood, but they continued to stay over here for more than a week. Then she would start asking me for rides places. I reminded her that I am not her driver, and that there is a bus stop she agreed would be fine when she moved in. However, when pressing back against her, she quickly got angry and would be incredibly passive-aggressive in person. This is when cleaning became an issue. There would be dirty dishes in the sink for weeks, leading to an ant infestation around the counter, which I had to clean up because both of my roommates would not be home due to classes. They used my pots and pans and will leave it in the sink for days without washing it. So I'm stuck washing my own pans when I need to use them. I had talked to them about the cleaning issue and we made a chore chart, but quickly did not stick to it. My other roommate has been equally as annoying. She will have guests over for days at a time and will not let us know ahead of time. The guests will also park on the street blocking the other neighbors, and will get confrontational about it when the neighbors come over and ask them to move. The friend has been over several times and parked illegally several times with notes all over their car. I have recently come to find out that the same roommate has a separate guest over with a dog. Our property in the lease explicitly said no animals on the property, and left it outside for it to howl late into the night, waking up the neighbors. The roommate is also friends with the other roommate's boyfriend, so when the incident happened it felt like it was a 2-against-1 situation. I was leaving for classes, and both of the roommates left, leaving the boyfriend behind in the apartment with me. I asked the boyfriend what he was still doing here, and he said he would lock up when I left. Confused, I asked what he meant, and he showed me the key to the apartment on his keyring. I immediately brought the situation up to my roommate, who quickly got defensive about it, saying it was an accident and that there was no way for him to leave. I argued that there is a bus spot outside our apartment that goes to campus. There was a place for him to go. When we discussed this issue in person, she claimed I was being racist and that I was afraid of her boyfriend. I told her that I did not want him having a key to the apartment since he does not pay rent here. The situation got somewhat better, but there are still weeks where he is over all the time. In terms of discussing the cleaning, she claimed that we were just raised differently when it came to how she would keep a clean house. Both roommates will also sit in the doorway of the apartment and pack bowls of tobacco and weed, which make the whole apartment smell. They will smoke cigarettes and leave the butts outside of the door. Smoking is incredibly against our lease since it will cause damage to the walls. The reason I'm writing this is because recently the boyfriend has started sending his mail to the apartment instead of his dorms. I have spoken to my roommate several times about the cleaning issues. The boyfriend being over and the guests coming over unannounced and staying for days. I've gotten the property manager involved about the smoking issue, but she just did an inspection and nothing came of it in terms of consequences. I cannot fiscally break the lease and move out. I also have to continue taking classes on campus, so moving is not an option. I've made friends with the upstairs neighbors and they said they'd back me up with going to the property manager again if needed. I just have no clue what to do to figure the situation out. Hellfreezer's note. This is what you do. Stop talking to your roommates about this. It's established you are talking to a series of brick walls, so don't waste your breath on them anymore. Go to the people in charge of your building. Check what the rules of your lease are regarding overnight guests. I suspect they are being heavily broken. When mail is coming to your house for someone who doesn't live there, write on it, return to sender, does not live at this address, and shove it back in the nearest postbox. You're only doing your civic duty by making sure the mail gets to where it belongs, which is not at your apartment. I saw someone on Reddit suggest that you take all your stuff and put it in your room so they can't use it. Good idea, do that. And you did mention in the comments that you have a blow-up mattress that is used for their overnight guests. Good thing about blow-up mattresses is they deflate and they're easily stored in your room. I'm very sorry you're in this situation, but you have to use all the resources at your disposal to deal with this. You've tried being a reasonable, civilized person, but you're not talking to reasonable, civilized people. You're talking to farty heads. It's a very common story with this sort of thing in that they think the whole apartment is theirs because they're renting space within it. And when you're only renting space within a shared unit, there are certain restrictions. If they want the privileges of having their own apartment, well, then they should go rent one all in their own. 5. I'm a 30-year-old woman. I had a roommate not too long ago this year, from February up until about August. He thankfully doesn't live with me anymore. His name is Ryan. Well, not really, but Ryan. I'm still paranoid 4 months later that he might show up, but I highly doubt he will. Ryan was my most dear friend for years. Unfortunately, I did not know that he had some sexual attentions towards me and my partner. I've been with my partner for 10 years. Ryan had gotten hold of some ecstasy, and I gave him permission to experience it for the first time at our house, rather than at a bar, which was his original plan, but I just felt that was unsafe. During that time he was on ecstasy that night, me and my partner stayed up with him, and we had what I thought was a great time, full of love and friendship. Me and my partner were sober, so that we could properly be present for Ryan. I'd also like to mention the fact that Ryan had some very clear emotional problems and some deeply repressed issues, and we were excited for him to be able to open himself up and feel his emotions. The night Ryan took ecstasy was unfortunately the turning point of our friendship and him being our roommate. The immediate day after, he, what seemed to be accidentally, admitted to me that he wished to have sexual relations with me and my partner, and that he wished we were a throuple. He left the house very soon after he told me that and went to work. I was stuck all day thinking about what he said, shocked. I told my partner what Ryan had told me, and he didn't seem surprised like I was. Apparently he had already had his suspicions, but he didn't blame Ryan for his desires, and wasn't worried as long as he never tried to act on them. That's understandable, I suppose. Over the years, me and my partner have been requested into swinger events many times, and we've always respectfully declined, and never gotten any kind of backlash awkwardness about our rejections. Anyway, there was a 2-week period after Ryan did the ecstasy where I started noticing some things. The first thing I noticed was that he could barely make eye contact with either of us. He also started doing cocaine every day and lying about it. I confronted him about the cocaine and how I would like it not in my house. He agreed, but continued to do so. We had a lot of patience for Ryan, and really what it boils down to is we had been being gaslit for our entire relationship with him. That's a whole other issue that's hard to explain, but to continue with my story. One night around 3 a.m., as I was laying in bed, I woke up and I opened my eyes. It was pitch dark, except for a tiny light coming in through the hallway. And all I see is Ryan standing in the middle of our room staring at me and my partner. I was honestly too shooken up and frightened to move or say anything that would alert him that I knew he was standing there. He started pacing around just watching us sleep, and eventually walked out of our room. My partner had no idea this was happening because he was asleep. It was at that moment that I realized that I was horrified of Ryan, and I just didn't really know what to say or how to say anything to him after that. He continued to act a little chaotic, and he was also acting as someone would if they have feelings towards somebody, and they just can't say anything about it. He started to act like we were actually a throuple, and it just got very bizarre. It's hard to go into all the details of what happened, but there were many other creepy incidents, all of which led to me eventually packing up his stuff and telling him to leave. Before that moment of me telling him to leave, we had taken him to the hospital several times that last week, because he was having some kind of psychotic break, or what I believe to be some kind of overdose of a drug that he wasn't being completely honest about. I'm just relieved that he's gone, and always will be. It broke my heart that it turned out to be this way. He was such a dear friend of mine. Me and him acted as siblings do, in my mind anyway. We did everything together, and would go hiking and shopping and run errands, and just generally have an all-round good time in each other's presence. But after all that, I'm just left with the feeling of a looming paranoia that he might show up or be in my room. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Bad Roommates, episode 46. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please hit the like button, and do subscribe if you haven't done so already, and please do support me on my Patreon page, which is linked in the description. It really does help. Okay, no more business today, I don't think, so let's move on to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, would you prefer to find glitter every day on your carpet, no matter how hard you vacuum to get rid of the stuff, or know that there's one random piece of Lego in your house? You will step on it at some point. You don't know when. You don't know how. It could be years, but it's always there, waiting. Personally speaking, I'd rather just stand on the Lego at some point. Yeah, it's a quick pain, not a fun pain, but you know, at least the carpet would be clean. Let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, we'll take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And the question, this was about things you've seen that are really cool lately. You've kind of popped up maybe in your social media feed, you've seen real life, whatever. And real life, remember that? Fun. And you'll never try them yourself because, you know, they're cool to watch, but so much effort to actually do things. And today's answer comes from Rob Funkhauser. Every weekend I watch a channel on YouTube called John Malecki, who is a woodworker in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He does decent woodworking projects which are far beyond my skill. Oh, I know the kind of thing you're talking. I've never seen John's channel, although I might check it out. But you do see these people doing all these awesome things on YouTube, and it kind of looks like you could do it yourself until you realize these people are not starting from zero. They've probably been doing it for years, and they do have all the fancy equipment and doodads, especially the doodads. My thing right now is 3D printing. I go down that rabbit hole now and again, but now I'm at the point where it's like, yeah, I think I kind of need to get one. So I'm trying to be sensible. I can justify it more if I can get a good deal on an older but still good quality used one. So I'm scouring eBay, patiently waiting to pounce at the last minute and bid. Yes, I snipe on eBay. What can I say? I feel no guilt. Thank you very much for your answer, Rob. And with that, I'm going to go look at eBay. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself, because nobody else is going to.